Regular meeting of council for August 12th to order at 3:13 p.m. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Smith that council adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting on August 12th as presented.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And agenda approval or previous meeting approvals. Ask for a motion from Councillor Barton that omnibus motion adopts the following in accordance with council's procedure bylaw, the July 8th regular council meeting minutes as presented in the strategic priorities chart.
You have my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Public comments section. So this is a section regarding public's ability to make any comments regarding anything that is in today's agenda, please. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Ma'am? I need you to come right up here. Maureen, please.
So I'm not sure if this is pertaining, because I haven't been to many council meetings. Are we allowed to discuss the July 8th meeting? It is
Sure. Is it regarding something in today's agenda?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I really think that this council needs to step back on this pool development. There is no way that the people of this community can afford the extra income for taxes with the additional amount that is going to be needed. For one, I don't think everything's been thoroughly thought out properly. I guess there was a referendum. I have to say, I lived out in the county. I've only been here 4 years. And the amount of money that you're spending on this pool is ridiculous, especially now that we need more money to facilitate this pool. You've gone and changed the budget for Center Street. You have the money that was allocated for the Center Street corrections that you were going to do on that has now been tabled to next year budget. Let's get our infrastructure done in this town before we vote on a pool. And I think it needs to go for a referendum to every single person in this town that pays taxes. Because my taxes are ridiculous. I'm just totally appalled by the taxes in this town. For what? Really, for what? You've just gone and changed Center Street. The roads are atrocious. What about the septic sewer area by the library? That needs to be redone. A lot of this infrastructure, we're going to be like Calgary, where we're going to have no water.
So there's no septic sewer by the library?
I have heard from people that live in that area that the sewer system over in that place is 40-something years old. And
40? Yes, probably. Yeah.
Do you not think the infrastructure in this town should be not done before we spend this atrocious amount of money on a pool? Because I don't want my taxes going to a pool. I want my taxes going to the road, to the potholes, to the infrastructure in this town. I think you need to reconsider the pool. Even though it was put through, you really need to reconsider this. That recplex was built on a slough.
No.
Yes, my husband hauled the gravel there. So it was a slough. He hauled tons and tons and tons of rock there.
Okay.
So it was a slough. There's many of them around this town.
Mm-hmm. The whole town's built on a floodplain.
I get that.
So, yeah,
I've been here since 1978.
yeah.
You know, I went to grade 12, 78. I don't think it's right to put the people, the taxpayers in this position for a pool. The parking, there's hardly any parking over there already when there's tournaments and stuff. Now you're gonna add the additional building. Where's the parking going?
I don't know what you mean by the parking, because I
you're
have
putting
children that go to tournaments and stuff there, and there's
Well, I've
there's
heard that
parking
some
available.
people for hockey and tournaments and stuff park on the empty lots across the road.
Okay.
I don't think you've considered this properly. And I, for one, don't want my tax money going towards the new pool,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, don't go anywhere, because I just need to clarify a few things. So how much are we spending on the pool? I just want to make sure we're all talking the same
I brought the wrong
language
one.
here.
It's 36 million?
How much?
Is it 36 or 26?
26?
26
Right.
million?
And how much are we borrowing?
That's in my notes.
15,
15.
under 15.
But you're requesting to up that another 14 million.
No,
What are you requesting?
this is just, what we're doing today is just the borrowing bylaw for the 14-ish million that we need to build the pool.
Well, I think.
That's it. It's not, there's no doubling up. This is why I ask you, Maureen, and this is why I do this in these council meetings, because the amount of information that gets all wonky on
I know,
Facebook and
I was
everything
on-
else, I want
I
to
was
make
here at
sure.
the meeting.
I want to make sure that we're all speaking the reality of what this council's actually doing and what we're doing in this town. That's what the public comment section is for, and that's what you and I can do today. So no, there is no $28 million doubling borrowing thing. It's
No, I
only,
didn't say that.
well, you said we were going to
It was-
double it today. We're not. We're not. So it's a $26 million project. The pool itself is about 14 and a half for the pool. The rest of it is renovations that need to be done to upgrade the lobby area, the reception area, how the Zamboni works, because the Zamboni piece, to get the Zamboni operating properly in the small ice surface, that all needs to be upgraded, moved, et cetera, right? So that's it. Now, I totally understand that there are some people in this town that do not want to spend 10 cents on a new pool. I get that. It doesn't matter what we do, somebody will not want us to do that.
Well,
But that does not mean that we come to a screeching halt and stop doing anything. That's not a responsible way to manage a community.
I feel that you need to do a referendum, a binding referendum on this with every single person in this town.
So here's
Before.
where.
And I
okay.
heard that the referendum that did go around was mostly no, but you've passed it.
Hang
It should
on.
be the voice of the people, not the voice of council.
Council is elected by the people to make these decisions.
I understand that.
That's it. That's what elections are for. I was very, for myself, I was very clear with everybody going through the election as to how supportive I was for this pool. And I was elected. The referendum, I would never do that again. I've said that multiple times in this council chambers. Because the problem is with a referendum like that, you take a very complicated scenario and you drill it down into a yes or no. And you can't do that. It doesn't give you the real reflection.
Yes,
This
but
pool is primarily for the youth of this community and the seniors of this community that need a safer and more enjoyable environment for our aquatic center. We have a lane pool that's 4 feet deep on the shallow end. Like, it's just something that personally I think is absolutely the right move forward for this community. So,
Okay, you just said your
that's just
position.
mine.
Yours.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't, there's 7 people here,
Yeah,
one's gone
exactly.
today, that
But when you
unanimously
get
voted to move forward with this.
when you get voted in,
Mm-hmm.
you work for the people.
Oh.
When the people come to you with a problem, I think the people of this
Perfect.
town would be more concerned about the infrastructure, the roads, than getting the pool built right now, especially in this time.
Okay.
This time, you know, the way the liberal governments have done, you
Okay,
know.
we're not going down that road.
No, but I'm just
Because we don't have
saying,
near enough time. So here's
I'm
what
just-
here's what I'll talk to you about when you say the people.
the people of the town,
Who are the people?
the people of the town,
All of them?
Yes.
Feel the same way you do?
I think a lot feel the same way I do.
Some do, not
Yeah.
all.
No, I didn't say
Not
all,
all.
but that's why I'm asking.
But this is
for-
why I don't, you know, when people say, well, the people say, you know, the people want this, well, who are the people? You take any issue and you're gonna have 4 opinions on it, and it's council's decision as to which direction we go. It's impossible. It's impossible to appease everybody. Council, we've been working on this for 6 years? 2010. Okay, so back before I was in the seat.
Well,
So
I
this has been going on. We looked at it 7 ways to Sunday. This isn't the first time we've discussed this, Maureen. Like, do we, you know,
Just
there's
being
there's
new,
something, there's you that doesn't want to do anything, okay?
Oh,
That
I-
doesn't want to build any pool or any, and no recreate, like, don't, okay? There's others that want us to spend over 100 million out in the Northwest and build a grandiose new facility. Well, that doesn't fit.
well, I've
I
heard.
think
both.
that would be
I've heard-
extremely irresponsible. So I get what you're, now, if we drill back, I know your concern is the tax dollars and how much
Yes.
this is going to cost. So what did that turn out to be? Like $100 a year?
It's $80.16 per household.
$80.16 per household per year.
Plus interest. Plus interest
Oh, okay, plus interest.
over
So
20 years,
80,
30 years.
75. Yeah, like it's, so, you know, we're not talking about, I understand that some people are tight. I do get that. I completely understand that. But the
Well-
irresponsible thing, Maureen, for this council is to just stop doing things. We can't.
I'm not
We
saying
can't.
stop doing things. I'm saying let's get the roads fixed. Let's get the infrastructure fixed.
But what,
Stuff
what,
that
what,
our
what
town.
infrastructure problems do we have? Because any infrastructure issues that we have, we fix. That's why we've built up reserve accounts over the last 10 years to be able to have those funds available so we can fix, like,
Well-
where are the infrastructure failures you're speaking of?
Well, like I've been talking to people over by the library, and they are disgusted in the septic sewer system.
Riley, do we have septic issues over by the library?
There's the one storm issue, but I think we got on top of that.
A storm sewer, so that's not septic. That doesn't affect flushing toilet.
I'm not aware of any sewer issues.
There's a storm drain, which isn't uncommon in this town because the town was built on the flattest place
Yeah.
on earth. And it's very hard to drain things.
Well,
So
I-
yeah, sometimes when we have big rainstorms, it's hard to drain stuff. It's just part of the
yes.
gig that we have to deal with in a flat town.
I just feel that the money could be spent elsewhere, or not spent at all.
And I get that, Maureen. I completely understand that. I
Yeah.
just don't agree with it.
Okay, you don't agree with it?
Yeah.
So, does everyone on the council have a free vote?
A free vote?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just wondering, just wondering.
Well, what other way would it be?
Well, there's other ways where they're
Like what?
told what to vote.
Told what to vote?
Yeah. Just
Does
curious.
any one of you feel like any of us, anybody else on this bench, can tell you how to vote? Any of you?
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah, that'd be
I'm
about
just-
the weakest council I could possibly think of that might exist, and it
Okay,
ain't here.
I'm just asking because I'm getting used to the politics in High River, and I have dealt with politics before provincially,
Okay.
so
Aye.
just wondering. Okay, well, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you
Thank you.
very much. Pardon me?
Can I just clarify
Yep.
something? Just want to clarify, the actual borrow cost is $148 per household per year over the term of the borrow, based upon 14 million, which with operating cost expenses as well as the borrowing cost comes out to about $16 per month over the term of the borrow.
That's average, so some will pay a little bit more, some will pay a little bit less, depending on
Correct.
how it rolls, so. Anyone else that wishes to share any comments? Sir?
735 Hampton Mills Drive, northwest, no, east. I wasn't going to speak today, but I just want to respond. I moved here about 5-6 years ago. I was here for the referendum. I voted no for the referendum on the pool. I have since been in the community longer, become more aware of the facilities available, and I am full support of going forward with the pool and the expenses. Watching the community grow, the number of homes that are being built, the number of folks coming to town, I think personally, not going forward and getting these things in place would be a detriment to the community. That's all I got.
Excellent, thank you. And that's the thing, you know, these amenities, yes, they're expensive. There's no question. When you build stuff in a municipality, when you build stuff anywhere, whether it's our own private businesses or what, it's expensive. It just costs. It's expensive, but like I said before, I'm not the guy that stops. Like we've got to keep moving forward. Like the gentleman just said, there's more people coming here. We need different ways to. I'll speak to it later on, but as far as attracting physicians and other professionals that we need in this town, yes, you don't think a swimming pool does much for that, but it absolutely does when those families I'll take doctors for example, and those families are looking at relocating here and being here, what amenities are in town for them? It's a huge thing on their decision as to where to locate in a town. And this is part of that. Paula?
My name is Paula Elliott. My address is 31 First Avenue Southeast. It's the beautiful little cul-de-sac right behind Sobeys. I came to this meeting today, had a fireside chat with myself beforehand, said, you really don't need to say anything, Paula.
Don't disappoint us now.
However, I am compelled. And I will try to keep it short and brief and to make sense of all the thoughts that are tumbling around my head. I guess in terms of infrastructure, I consider High River to be the luckiest community in North America because after the 2013 flood, our infrastructure was brought up to a level that we would not have been able to do otherwise. We had access to grants and monies that assisted us in the most generous of ways, and I feel that our town does not have any issues with the overall service of our roadways, of our waterways, of my toilet and where that water goes, the water that comes into my sink. I think that it's top notch, so I don't understand that argument. I also, one of my pet peeves over my lifetime has been whenever we had to tighten our belts, right? Whenever collectively we had to take something off the block, it was always the arts and culture that got axed. And it bugged me to no end, and it still goes on. And I remember saying to somebody, talking about that, and I said, sports and recreation get all the money. The arts get nothing. And they said, that's where the heart of the community is, in sports. And I, at the time, was like, no. The heart is in the arts. That's the only place where the arts are. I've had opportunity for the past 3 years to use our pool many, many times each week. And I have been gobsmacked over and over and over by the level of heart that is present in that facility. And so that was just a real aha moment for me, like the importance for our community to have a place such as the rec center for our youth, our teens, our young adults, the elderly, the people who are immobile, who have problems with mobility. It's where the heart pulse really is. And I also want to talk about, the High River Rant and Rave page. I guess it's because of the silly nonsense that I saw posted there that I'm here today. And the misinformation that is shared and spouted like gospel is beyond imagination. And I just wanted to say that, I guess. So thank you for your time. Oh, I support and I'm so glad that we are being progressive in our thinking to build something for the future. Somebody once said, there's a quote somewhere that you're a civilized person when you plant a tree knowing you're not going to be able to be around to see it grow. And that's what this Recplex is. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula. Anyone else that wishes to speak? See none? Sir? Yep. No, just you. Yep.
I was just wondering what the overall cost of this new addition to the aquatorium is going to be, like the total overall cost. So you're getting money from where, and then you're also borrowing 14 million?
Yep.
Okay.
So I think I just mentioned the overall cost, about 26 million.
Okay. Where's the-
Borrowing of about 14 and a half.
Okay.
So outside of the 14 and a half comes from what they call MSI grants, provincial grants, gas tax grants. We had $1 million that we got when we sold the profit that we got from selling homes on Riverside Drive. I don't know if you're aware of that happened, but we made 1.8 million on it, so $1 million was allocated to the pool. So most of it's coming from, all of that is coming from grants outside of taxation.
And are those grants funds that could be utilized somewhere else?
Oh, of course it can.
Or is it like specifically for the development of aquatoriums and recreational facilities
No.
in towns?
No, they can be used for anything that council wishes if they get approval from the province, so
Okay.
that's what those grants are given from the province for
And then
communities to use.
you're doing a bylaw to allow you to borrow money?
Borrow the 14, yeah. Legally, we have to do a bylaw in
Okay.
order to borrow money from the province.
So what happened? I don't know too much about it. I just do know that there has been a lot of money put into the aquatorium and the recreational facility, which I come from an age group where, we were always recreating when we were younger, right? Always outside, always doing something. And, the kids these days, they're staying inside and they do need those facilities to drag them out. I'm just a little concerned about the overall cost of some of these projects. Like what is this it's 26 million that's going to be put into this project?
Yeah.
Yeah? So what is that actually going to build? What extra stuff is going to cost $26 million to the tax, or, well,
Chris, honestly, I appreciate the question, and I'm more than happy to send you the information on all the plans and exactly what's all
sure, but
entailed in it.
what's the end result? Like, what's the reason we have a nice facility?
The end
We
re-
do. It's not a rickety old Quonset, rink, or an outdoor pool where it's like we need a shelter for winter swimming, right?
Yeah.
We have a nice facility, a very nice facility. I'm sure there's tens of millions of dollars. Like, how much is that facility worth right now?
I don't know.
Overall,
It's not
like,
for
how much
sale,
have you
so I
guys?
don't know.
No, but overall, you guys have put in tens of millions of dollars into that facility, right?
Yeah, over its lifetime, absolutely.
But for all the new, advancements and stuff, and the new additions, and the extra this and an extra that.
So the
there's-
field, like the field house, and so replace the large ice hockey floor.
I guess
have to do, that's
all of that
maintenance.
extra stuff, right?
Okay, that's
So-
maintenance. There's the new curling ice, the new small ice, that's all maintenance.
Well,
Got to
what-
keep
what-
it up to date. And then the field house, that was what, an $8 million
That's just a lot.
borrow?
It is considerably. It is.
It's recreation.
It
It's
is-
expensive, you guys.
I know.
It's rank
But
expensive.
here's the other, really quick. One of the things that I find, and I don't understand the economics of the towns, but people are putting forth tax dollars that are being put forth to these recreational facilities. Why is it that we pay property tax, right, and that goes here, there, wherever, and then there's extras, government grants and this and that for recreation, I'm sure, to inspire people to recreate more, right? Why is it that taxpayers of High River are not given a free pass to recreate in the facilities that the town has paid for?
Because
That-
you do not pay enough tax. That's all there is to it.
And-
I appreciate, you just don't, Chris. Like, you just, we all think that we pay a lot of tax, but we do not pay.
Well-
We do not pay enough.
Those people that are staffed there
Yeah,
are still being paid, no matter if there's 1,000 people in there or 10 people in there. They're still on shift, right? They're still being paid.
yeah.
And they're I don't know,
So they're being paid, so you should be able to get in there for free.
Well, the other thing is maybe accommodate people that do pay taxes and say, hey, if you're a resident of High River, you get a 50% discount on admission into our facilities that you're paying for.
Okay,
Right?
here's,
Just an idea.
fair
Just
enough.
an idea.
Yep.
I
Not
know
gonna
it's a little off topic.
I know, but not going to happen because the operations of the rec center, nobody that uses the rec center today pays enough to offset the actual operating costs of what they use. Not the hockey, not the curling, not the field house. It's all has to be subsidized by the whole community
Yeah.
as a whole. That's just
Okay.
the way recreation
yeah.
goes. You can't afford to pay the operational cost based on whatever your
Well-
ticket going in. So what I will tell you is that, yes, the taxpayers of High River are going to be paying for this addition. What I fully support is that those people that are accessing this facility from outside the town of High River pay extra. Same as I do when I take the family and go use the Seton pool in Calgary. We provide our driver's license and they look at my postal code and they go, you're
So we
paying
do
this
get a
much.
discount then?
Do you get a discount or do they pay more? I don't know. You cut that one
I don't
as
know.
you wish.
So I'm just wondering what extravagant development is gonna go on for $26 million for this facility? What extra can you put in it or outside of it for $26 million? That's a lot of money.
I don't understand the question. Like,
Well,
have
what
you looked,
extra thing-
have you looked at the plans as to what we're doing? Have you seen that?
No, no.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to do that
Okay,
first.
sure.
So, because
But
that'll
then I
tell
won't
you
have
it's
a
not-
chance to
It's
come
not a
back and,
secret.
it won't give me a quick chance to come back and speak on this.
Oh, you can
because
come, you can come.
It's already been gone
Oh, no, this
through,
is
no?
first reading, sir.
Oh,
This-
okay.
This is first reading, so you can go look at the plans and come back and
Okay,
we have public comments every single meeting. You're more
Yeah.
than welcome to come back and let us know what you
okay.
think. 100%.
I'm just thinking that people, the council maybe needs to think about being a little more frugal with, the way we do things around here, because.
I agree,
you
and
know,
I think we are.
Putting, I don't know over how many years the town folk are gonna have to pay X number of dollars per month, per year, for how many years?
30.
To clear up 30 years.
Yeah, based on
30
how we're-
years at
how we're gonna
100
borrow.
and how
Yeah,
much a
It's a
month?
mortgage
30
to build
year-
this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
30 years at 100 and how much per month?
Per year,
$16 a month,
a month.
160 a year for 30 years. Okay. Okay. I think that's about it. I'll leave you to it.
Thank you. Anyone else? See none, hear none. Okay, we will move on to the aquatics expansion borrowing bylaw. And who's going to speak to this? I don't have anybody. David is? Thanks, David.
Good afternoon, Council. You have before you a request for decision to proceed with the first reading, bylaw 4633, 2024, the Aquatics Expansion Borrowing Bylaw, as required under sections 251 and 258 of the Municipal Government Act. As you will recall, Council approved the Aquatics Expansion Project in its meeting on July 8th, 2024, totaling approximately $27 million, and directed administration to return to Council with a borrowing bylaw not exceeding $14 million at its earliest convenience. The bylaw you have before you is administration's response to Council's directive. Upon Council giving first reading of this bylaw, administration will proceed with advertising the bylaw in accordance with Section 251 of the Municipal Government Act and the town's bylaw 4577, 2022, for public notification, formally opening the advertising and petition period. Administration anticipates returning to Council by early October for final bylaw readings, pending community feedback. And that concludes my comments.
Thanks, David. Sorry, I just want to clarify the notes that it's that one in both places, correct? Thank you. Any questions from council for David? Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. So if we're looking at October for the final reading in this, we're probably looking at, in your crystal ball, an anticipation in a drop in percentages, right, in terms of interest rates?
That is correct.
That is correct. So
Yes.
at the time, when does this, once it's approved, once we get the money in hand, at what point does that become firm in terms of percentages?
Certainly, we have the flexibility to borrow at any time after adoption. And so our goal would be to watch what the interest rates are doing and try and get the lowest interest rate possible before the project's completed. We have enough funding to bridge finance that ourselves to get us through, as well as we have enough grant money to fund the first $11, $12 million worth of the project.
Okay.
So that's our intent, is to try and see if we can get a couple more interest decreases before we lock in what that interest rate actually is, which may then reduce the actual annual cost per household from the 148 that was estimated to down to a lower amount.
Good, okay. And then, again, with the 27 million initial, that includes the 10% 2.4 roughly contingency?
That is correct.
Right, okay, thank you.
Councillor Walsh?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. David, thank you for all the work that you and all of the other people, whether you were on the task force to do the project or here we are now at the funding model. The bylaw to borrow these funds is not necessarily my question. My question is, in the event that the other just under 12 million that we're utilizing different sources of revenue from, in the event that any of that changes, will we require an additional bylaw, or how will we go about making different financial arrangements? The municipal money, MSI money or LGFF money is almost $12 million. That's almost what we're borrowing. To be clear, I did not vote in favor of this last meeting because I have concerns as to whether or not we're overextending ourselves. There's that rainy day thing, you know. I'm in support of the facility. I just want to make sure it's financially managed properly, and you're the guy. So in the event that any of the grant monies change, what will we do then?
The amount that we're borrowing at 14 million does not put us in a position to exceed the maximum that's permissible under the MGA. So if we are required to increase that amount above 14, we would come back as one option to council and seek their approval. But we've got tremendous capacity above the 14 to borrow more if
Okay.
required without putting the town at financial risk.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that council give first reading to bylaw 4633 2024 aquatics expansion borrowing bylaw, and that administration proceed with advertising of bylaw 4633 2024 the aquatic expansion borrowing bylaw in accordance with section 251 of the Municipal Government Act and the town's bylaw 4633 2024 public notification.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I'll give you that motion.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks, David.
Thank
All
you.
good. One piece on this rec center, you know, with what Paula was mentioning about it being the, you know, it is a certain part of the heart of our community. And back in 2010, council made the decision on the field house. And that was about an $8.5 million borrow. $7.5, $8 million. Regardless. The taxpayers of High River funded that. I can't even fathom walking into that building today without having that facility exist. Because the other option that council had to save $9 was to join forces and put it out in the middle of a stubble field out at Alderside with the Okotoks and Foothills County facility that's out there, which I believe is the most irresponsible thing you can do as a community, to put your recreational facilities the furthest point away from the majority of the people. I don't get it. This I view the same way. And I know there's people that say, oh, we should be building a brand new facility. It was built on a swamp. It was all this stuff, right? You know, no part of that rec center, regardless of what it's built on, no part of that rec center is sinking. None of it. Not the rinks, not the pool, none of it. Not the field house, none of it. So, you know, I know that arguments come, but what I'm getting at is that in order to have these kinds of facilities, it costs money. And I get that some people are strapped, and I do understand that. But in order for us to continue having a great place to live in a viable community that's attractive to others, and I don't, my personal opinion is we're not building this for who might come. We're building this as an amenity to the people that are already here that we need. That's my big thing on this pool. And yeah, you can debate the borrowing. It's not cheap. Just like our homes, we get mortgages. We have to do this. You buy a car. Very few people can go walk in and pay cash for a car nowadays. It's just part of the gig. It's expensive, and that's why we're, Chris, when you talked about, I can't remember your exact word, I'm missing it right now, but, being frugal, I guess is what you said, right? I get that. And based on what this town needs, I think we're accomplishing that. And not getting trapped into what some in this community want, which is a bright, brand new, shiny facility somewhere that they're over $100 million. Exactly. It's a want. It's not a need. It's a want. It's not a need, Chris, right? Like that's why, but regardless, even us moving forward and drilling this down into what we need and what we can afford, this is it. And it's not like David just mentioned, it's not breaking the town's bank whatsoever. We still have borrowing capacity. If we had to borrow for something else in the future, we have healthy reserves. The town is in a very healthy financial place right now, and we're being responsible about this. And I get some people aren't going to think we are because they just don't want it, period. But it's our job as the elected council to make these decisions and make these hard decisions on which way we move forward. So I just want to, if you look at the field house and because I know how many people use that facility, that costs money, and we had to borrow money for it too, and it's damn near paid off. So it's just part of how we got to do things to move forward. So we'll move on to the next one, being Red Tail Rise. Who's speaking to that? Sarah, please. Oh no, that's my next patient.
Oh, is it not me? Sorry.
What's that? Hang on, sir.
In our script is, so the online-
Which one are you looking at, James?
I'm looking at 6.1.
Oh, okay, yeah, so what does everybody's agenda say out there as to where we're at? Regardless of what my script, I can move my script around.
Online.
Yep.
For the rest of the residents is the respect of the municipal displays.
Okay, so, sorry, Sarah,
Oh, that's fine.
but maybe this is you too.
No, that's Sean.
Okay, so Shauna's doing, and this is 6.1? So 6.1, we're doing is municipal displays of respect and support policy. What's after this one?
Okay.
Go ahead, Shauna. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for having us come forward today. I'm here to talk about municipal displays of respect and support. As you will recall, Jody Hipkin shared the draft of this back at the June 24, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting. Since then, we've circulated it to Foothills County, and they've had an opportunity to provide their feedback. And we have included in the policy a dual approval process for illuminating the administration building here outside of what's outlined in Appendix A. Foothills County is agreeable to the list of annual flag and lighting requests, and the proclamation requests have no impact on their administration. The LED lights were installed on July 20th, and we, the Legislative and Advisory Services team, have received training on programming and operations of those lights. The intent of this policy is to minimize the volume of requests that are being received and to provide an annual list of days, weeks, and months that are recognized by the town that administration can prepare for in advance. If the policy is adopted today, the first lighting of the Joint Administration Building will be for Labor Day, September 2nd, 2024, and they will be white. Later on the agenda, we have a request for lighting up Town Hall for August 30th to September 13th for fetal alcohol syndrome disorder. However, if this policy is approved, administration will recommend that we illuminate Town Hall under the annual listing attached to the policy in Appendix A on September 9 for that one day. Does council have any questions or comments?
Thanks, Sean. Questions, Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I'm excited about this. This is fabulous. I'm curious, though, if there's been a week or a month or something that's observed that is maybe not on this list. Is there, the policy allows for submission yet to be added or changed?
Absolutely, absolutely. This was to provide us, the Appendix A was to provide us kind of with the annual listing, if approved by council, and then so that anything coming, there would be maybe less coming forward.
Fair. Okay.
That we kind of have that listing, and then anything, it still allows for that to come forward.
And some of these groups that are already mentioned here, say Family Violence Prevention Month, they would be notified that this is going to be a going forward
Yes,
annual.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
I believe so, yes.
No further questions. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Kinghorn that council adopt the municipal displays of respect and support policy 094.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I'll give you that motion.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Shauna.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Next one, 6.2, is the respectful and violence-free workplace policy amendment, correct? Sonia?
Yes, good afternoon. Today I bring forward a proposed amendment to the Respectful and Violence-Free Workplace Policy. Through our annual health and safety audit, it was identified that further clarity was required in the policy regarding the review of the procedures or the administrative directives, as the town refers to them. Under OH&S legislation, we're required to review the procedures following any incident of harassment or violence. Although the procedures state this, the policy was silent on it. This amendment will provide this clarification. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from council? Thanks, Sonia. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that council adopt the amended respectful and violence-free workplace policy HRPOL 100-02.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
All in favor? Carried. All right. Back. 6.3. Budget amendment, RCMP HVAC. Cody?
Afternoon, Mayor and Council. Presenting today in regards to a budget amendment for the RCMP HVAC equipment. As you're aware, we don't have anything in budget this year for any major upgrades or replacement of any of the equipment at the RCMP detachment. Recently, we've had issues with the one air conditioning compressor. So there's two rooftop units at the detachment. One compressor in one of the units is completely shot, where now it's just running on one compressor. The other unit is still functioning. And then we have two boilers in the basement. One of the boilers which is not functioning, and the other boiler which has been kind of patchworked together to keep it functioning at this time. So in 2018, a facility assessment was done on the building, and with the recommendation that equipment be replaced in the 20 to 25 year lifespan, potentially up to 30. We're getting very close to that lifespan now. So what we did, as opposed to just saying we need to replace, we looked at the cost of doing a refurbishment on these units. And in your package, it does show the repairs. So a rooftop AC unit repairs would be just under $9,000 to repair just the compressors. That's not any coils, that's not any other pieces or components within that unit. That would just get it back up and running. And we would still be required in the next few years to be looking at a full replacement of that unit due to its lifespan. And then the boilers would be sitting around that $10,000, give or take, for the repair on those boilers, which again, we may get them up and running, and then in a couple weeks, a month, a year, who knows, be requiring additional repairs to those as they are very close to the end of life. So administration's recommendation after the quotes that we got for repairs is to look at doing replacement of both of the air conditioning units on the rooftop. And the reason for that is we are going to have to bring a crane out to get the one off. Both units are at end of life. So this funding would replace both of those units on the roof, as well as both boilers in the basement of the detachment, thus resetting the lifespan of those pieces of equipment in that building. Any questions from council?
Seeing none, Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. So you're proposing new equipment, lifespan roughly?
Back to that 20 to 30 years.
we'll
Boilers would be 20. AC units are between 25 and 30 is what they
So
recommend.
we'll get another 20 to 25 years out of,
Yeah.
thank you.
No further questions. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Walsh that council approve the funding request for the equipment replacement of $102,500 at the RCMP Station 4 HVAC equipment.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much, Cody.
Thank you.
All right. 6.4, we're back to red tail rise, correct? Yes. Thank you. We are back on schedule.
Yes, good afternoon. We will be talking about the next steps for the Red Tail Rise development. On July 8th, 2024, the Committee of the Whole heard administration's briefing note report, and there was a general agreement from the Committee of the Whole that council should explicitly state the next steps for the Red Tail Rise development. So it's very clear to everyone, including the developer, administration, and to the general public. At the Committee of the Whole, the report went through the history of the development in detail. This report before you today also includes that information. To recap, the Red Tail Rise discussions about the Red Tail Rise development started after the 2013 high water event regarding the provision of an alternative relocation opportunity for households that had their properties that were in the Beechwood community bought out by the province. Rumble Homes was the original Beechwood community developer. The Beechwood community consisted of 30-plus large estate-style homes, and that was a style of home that did not exist anywhere else in the town of High River. The Rempel Homes developer proposed to develop a similar number of estate-style homes to allow the town to potentially retain those citizens within the community. The developer proposed locating the development on land that at the time was just outside of the town of High River boundaries. The developer noted and understood that an annexation into the town would be an ultimate requirement for that development. It was explained to the developer at the time that it was imperative that before Red Tail Rise becomes part of the town, a clear planning process would be established to ensure that future phases, so beyond that first 36 lots, that is the first phase, within the proposed development will be carried out following the town's land use bylaw and existing general planning practices. The town's normal planning process for an area of this size, which is approximately 50 acres, would require, first of all, an area structure plan, then neighborhood outline plans, rezoning, subdivision, and development permit applications to be reviewed and processed by the town administration. Therefore, once the annexation process had been completed and the land actually became part of the town, and that was in 2021, it was understood that an ASP shall be prepared by the developer to facilitate this development of the remaining phases of Red Tail Rise and then submit that to the town's satisfaction. This would then pave the way for the preparation or review of the subsequent planning applications. Furthermore, it was understood that while the supporting work for the first phase, which is the current 36 lots, would overlap with the ASP work and ultimately support it, it was not sufficient as to be considered to be an area structure submission in and of itself, as it lacked detail for the future phases. An ASP, or area structure plan, is an important and valuable planning tool for the community that is used to ensure that new development will be laid out and serviced in a manner that is compatible with existing and future developments. To ensure that the town's interests are protected and the developer's commitment is clearly outlined and documented, along with the required process to support the first phase and future phases of Red Tail Rise, administration prepared and presented a detailed report back in 2014 that included 3 specific resolutions, which are in the report today. As per one of those resolutions, that's 460/2014, it said that the next step is for the applicant to prepare an ASP and an FSR for the remaining phases. The applicant was provided with the town's standard ASP application form. This checklist included all of the items that were required, which includes the items that are required for the functional servicing report. The applicant did submit a couple of months ago a draft area structure plan for administration's review. However, administration determined that that submission was incomplete. Administration did provide a letter outlining all of the reasons why that application was considered to be incomplete, and it is in the package before you today. As per the recommendation in this report, administration recommends that the following should constitute the next steps of the Red Tail Rise development. These are not really different from the original resolutions from 2014. However, they have been reworded to make it make sense within today's context. For example, there was mention of needing to do an annexation agreement. That annexation has already been complete, so we no longer need that as one of the steps. So, as such, we are recommending the following steps. 1, that the developer prepare an area structure plan, or ASP, and functional service room report, FSR, prior to submitting any further subdivision applications. 2, that as part of the ASP process, the developer will coordinate and host an open house to present the ASP to the public that also outlines how the public input will be incorporated into the ASP. 3, that the draft ASP be submitted for approval to the CMRB after the public hearing is complete. 4, that the developer apply for rezoning of Red Tail Rise development once the ASP and FSR have been adopted by council. And finally, 5, that the town develop a policy framework that meets the original intent of the 2014 resolutions to allow for larger parcels and consider a different parcel ownership framework that reduces the future impact on the taxpayer. That concludes my report. Are there any questions or comments from council?
That was a pretty clear synopsis of the whole thing. So yeah, like Sarah said, it was a council decision back in 2014 when this all started, and it was, I'm not going to revisit past decisions like that made in that environment after the flood and what we were trying to do to keep this town going, but regardless, we were very clear that the rules had to be followed for subsequent phases, and that's where we're at today. I like what you've put together. I like the way it is, and it's going to continue the original intent. That's what's important as well for that, so it's all in the right spot. Any questions from council? I will ask for a motion from Councillor Smith that the next steps for the Red Tail Rise development are as follows: that the developer prepare an ASP and FSR prior to submitting any further subdivision applications. That as part of the ASP process, the developer will coordinate and host an open house to present the, better hurry up, present the ASP to the public. That also outlines how the public input will be incorporated into the ASP. That the draft ASP be submitted for approval to the CMRB after the public hearing has been completed. That the developer apply for rezoning of the Red Tail Rise developments once the ASP and FSR have been adopted by council, and that the town develop a policy framework that meets the original intent of the 2014 resolutions to allow for larger parcels and consider a different parcel ownership framework that reduces the future financial impact on the taxpayer.
I will give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Alid, for all your work on that one. Back here. Okay. We're at number 7, right? Councillor reports. Are there any reports from council? I got one, maybe two. So as everybody's aware, I've been giving you updates on the doctor situation in High River, and sorry that most of the public has left because they need to hear this, so maybe hopefully they'll watch on YouTube so I can outline kind of where our current state is. So a little while ago, the government released a new funding model called the transitional funding. And the reason was it was a funding model to help our doctors and lots of rural doctors, not just High River, with their clinic overheads and how much it costs to run these clinics. The clinics that they work in, they are their businesses, and their businesses are funded out of our provincial government. So where we're at today is with this funding model. The funding model is absolutely fantastic. There's a couple of glitches in it though, because the problem with it is in order to qualify it, you need to meet a certain threshold of 500 patients in order to qualify for this extra funding. Now, if you look at Charles Clark Medical Center in of itself, there's 15 doctors in there, only 5 of them qualified. So the other 10 doctors got no assistance whatsoever from the provincial government to help with their clinical overhead costs. Rent, staff, et cetera, et cetera. So the problem with this 500 number is that if you're over 500, then you get financial assistance. I think it's about $26,000 a year. If you're under 500, you get absolutely nothing. And some of these doctors are seeing well over 800,000, 900,000 patients The problem is how the province calculates that number is vastly different than what the reality of it is. So a number of those doctors that are seeing 600, 700, 800 patients got denied. One got denied because they were under the 500 number by 6. And we knew this was coming, that there's doctors that are going to not be able to continue with their practices without more assistance from the provincial government. So this week we had our first doctor send out her resignation. It's Dr. Amelia Lescu, and all her patients received the letter, and it's a long letter of her, what she's done over the past year to try to make change with the provincial government so that she can continue to run her practice as she wants to. But she did not qualify for the funding, so she has resigned, and that is immediately 600 people in this town that are out of a family doctor. Bigger issue with that is there is no other doctors in town that are taking patients. So that's what, it's not only putting our doctors in a certain predicament of decision making, but it's as to whether it's a viable business or not. But it's leaving our citizens without a family physician, which goes completely against what our premier's mandate was when she was being elected. So I arranged a meeting a couple weeks ago now that included myself and Dr. Vise and Dr. Alex Fay, and we had Premier Smith come here along with our MLA Chelsea Petrovic, and we clearly outlined, and the doctors did a fantastic job in outlining the changes that need to be made. So I know the Premier heard us. I know our MLA, I'll give her the kudos, because Chelsea is absolutely fully understanding what the issue is, and Chelsea is advocating for the change necessary. So it comes down to the Premier as well as our Health Minister, Adriana LaGrange, that need to make these changes. And one of the big one is how these patient counts are counted. And that needs to be reviewed as to how that's happening. It also needs to be met with and backed up with an appeal process. So if the doctor says, well, no, I was denied funding, I've got 800 patients, you're telling me I only got 300, that the doctors are able to appeal that back to the government. Right now, there's nothing. It's either a yes or no and you're done. So 3 people over the weekend since this letter went out, 3 people reached out to me kind of asking, what are we doing about it? Well, we do what we can to retain our doctors, and it's part of the big reason our commitment to healthcare in this town is why the town of High River last year took over the ownership and the operations of the Charles Clark Medical Center in order to have a little bit more control over how that place is operated, so that our doctors are happy being there. So that's one of the pieces. The other major piece that we can do is advocating and using our connections to the Alberta government. So hopefully, I know Danielle knows exactly what the doctor's concerns were and what the changes that are necessary. Some she agreed with, others she challenged. And so I'm hopeful that in the end of the day, something is changed so that we do not lose more doctors. But this is not something that can take months and months or years to resolve. We've got one other doctor right now. He's a young doctor in town. He's got a patient load of only about 280 patients, but he works an enormous amount of shifts at the High River Emergency. But he he gets no funding to help run his clinic, which makes him thinking right now, is it viable for me to be putting that much work in, spending that much on staff, rent, et cetera, and zero help from the provincial government just because he doesn't have enough patients. So that was one of the requests to Danielle was, you know, there needs to be a graduated scale on the amount of funding that correlates with the number of patients that you have. So hopefully that'll be heard and acted on, not just heard, acted on. Problem is, if they don't make any change, he's made it very clear to me that he'll probably just shut down the clinic and just do ER shifts. Working the ER is lucrative, and you don't have the enormous overhead that comes with running a clinic. So if you look at other communities, it's not just us. The town of Hinton recently just declared a healthcare crisis in their town because they're losing doctors. And this is part of it, not all of it, but this is part of the reason why they're losing doctors. Are we there today to be declaring something like that? No, because we've got an ear to the government, and I'm going to be hopeful that we can see change. But the people I spoke to over the weekend are freaking out right now because one of them is an elderly couple, late 70s, husband's early 80s with multiple medical conditions. They have no physician in High River. She said, "What do I do?" I said, "You go to the ER or you go to the clinic in Okotoks." "Well, we can't drive." Well, it's the ER in High River. Now, the ERs in High River, I don't know what everybody's experience is, but I know Lindsay had to take Oren in there a few weeks ago, and it was a 5-hour wait. Now, he wasn't in a life and death scenario whatsoever, but the ERs are backing up further and further, and the wait times are getting longer and longer. And we need our family physicians in this town operating clinics and taking care of our patients, so that the ERs can be open for actual emergencies. And I'm very, very concerned with the road that this government is going down, and this started back 2021 when Health Minister at that time, Tyler Shandro, tore up the doctor's contract and broke an enormous amount of trust that the doctors had in our government and the support they had. So this is just compounding on that. Nothing's getting better. It's getting significantly worse. Dr. Lescu, her resignation, I talked to her this afternoon. She is still going to be doing shifts at the ER, but and she is absolutely not happy whatsoever in having to make this decision, but the business does not make sense enough for her to give up her family time with her young kids and hire a nanny to help raise the kids. So that's the thing, it's not 1978 anymore. That's the exact words I said to Danielle. The days of, the doctors we grew up with committing their lives to this stuff, to their practices and their patients. Our young doctors today, they see that they want more of they call it life-work balance. They want to spend more time with their families. They want to be parents. They want to do this. So if we're continuing down, it has to make financial sense for them to go outside of that. So that's the big thing. And Danielle's thing, she wants all of our doctors to have 500 patients. That's just where she's at. If we get there, then, but I've told her, some of them, lots of them, just don't want 500 patients. That's not the way they want to do different things. They want to be in the ER. They want to do their clinic. They want to do, hospice work is another piece that some of these doctors do up in Okotoks. So we got to get on bored with reality as to what, where our doctors are at and how they want to work. We have to do that. You can't make it up and think that some pipe dream of forcing anybody to do anything is going to work. It's not. It's already shown right now that we're starting to lose doctors. So, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the update and taking the time to try and advocate already as far as you have. I'm curious about that threshold of the 500 patients. Like, does that take into account in a rural environment where they are wearing multiple hats? Does that, because the city counterparts would, or urban counterparts would not have that necessarily. They would either have practice
Correct.
or they would have an ER. So I'm curious, was there any feedback with regards to the variety of scope that our doctors are being charged or tasked with versus those who are able to exclusively have clinics that just see patients?
Well, that's what we made clear, is that if you're forcing all of the doctors to have over 500 patients and take on these huge patient loads, we're not going to have anybody work in the ER.
Right. And the reaction
Like,
was?
if that's what they're forced to do, like, you're not going to have a doctor in the ER when you go there.
Well,
That's
good.
extremely dangerous, right? So, that's what we're hopeful, is that Danielle and Chelsea will take this back to Adriana and start to make some changes. Because, you know, Alex and Adam spelled it out. And it's not just Alex and Adam. It's not just High River. We're also working directly with the Alberta Medical Association and the doctors involved in that. They are all, everybody is speaking the exact same language to the province. It's up to the province to make the changes and act on it. And if they don't, we are in trouble. So that's where that is. We'll continue on, and I'll continue to update if there's any changes. But the other piece that happened last week, Michael and I, Councillor Nychuk and I, met with the CEO of, Michael from the CEO of Northback Holdings, which is doing the coal development down on Grassy Mountain. We finally were able to hook up, so he came up here with, and we had a good discussion around the coal mining thing. Neither of us were able to sway each other one way or the other. It's still a bad idea for Alberta, not just for the Crow's Nest Pass or how the future of it will affect High River if it goes that far, but it's just flat out bad business. There's not enough money, not enough jobs for us to be doing that. Made it very clear to Michael. He's in the business of building coal mines, so he didn't agree with me. Shocker. So that's what, we had a good discussion. He's a good guy, but I get what he's got a job to do for Gina Reinhardt out of Australia to come and blow up our mountains and ship them to India, China, wherever, Japan. Don't like it. No shocker there. Anybody else with council reports? Nothing? Took up the airtime? How we doing for time, Kinghorn? You okay?
444 days.
Board and committee reports, anything? Any public comments prior to the end of the meeting? Council correspondence requiring action. FASD Awareness Day Letter of Support request. I'll ask for a motion. We'll go through these fairly quickly because if there's discussion, you can hit your button. That's for a motion from Councillor, I can't remember where I'm at, Councillor Barton. The council support administration in lighting up the joint administration building with red lights on September 9th, 2024 in support of Fetal Alcohol Syndrome Disorder Awareness Day.
Yeah, my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. High River Performing Arts Foundation Letter of Support Request. Ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that council support the mayor in signing the letter of support for the High River Performing Arts Foundation's applications for the provincial capital grant for the building of the venue building.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Kids Connection Child Care Letter of Support Request. Ask for a motion from Councillor Kinghorn that council support the mayor in signing the letter of support for Kids Connection Child Care's application through the Space Creation Grant Program.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. You have my motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And our yearly sponsorship to the Foothills Country Hospice. Ask for a motion from Councillor Walsh that council direct administration to donate $2,500 to be a McLeod Trail sponsor for the Foothills Country Hospice Society Gratitude and Giving Gala.
You have my motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Council correspondence for information, correspondence regarding bikes on roads. Read that one briefly. Just ask our drivers when you're in a 2-ton vehicle to be very respectful. The bikes and the scooters are allowed on our roads, so your massive vehicle will cause significant damage if you get impatient and hit one of those. So it's a first world problem that's an issue. So be respectful of everybody that gets to use our roads, please. West Wind's Communities audited financial statements and annual report is attached, and the Shepherd Family Park Society meeting minutes are April 23rd, May 28th, and June 25th are all attached. Nothing further. Meeting adjourned 4:34 p.m.